This is the BiggerPockets Podcast, show 144.
You're listening to BiggerPockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.
What's going on, everybody? This is Josh Dorkin, host of the BiggerPockets Podcast, here with my co-host, Mr. Brandon Turner. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, what's up? I'm recording live inside of an actual coffee can right now. Do you hear that echo?
Yeah.
Echo. Now,
so where are you?
I'm at a co-working space in North Dakota because I'm driving to a wedding in Minnesota. But how are you, Josh?
Wow, they have co-working spaces in North Dakota?
They do. Fargo. I know. Pretty cool.
Oh, my goodness.
Check it out sometime.
All six people in Fargo are working
the Prairie Den. If you're in Fargo, the Prairie Den.
Rock on.
So anyway, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, why are you in Fargo, by the way?
I'm just driving through. Wedding.
Oh, wedding. Where? Which way?
Minnesota.
Okay. Like, we know your life. We want to know more, man. Talk to us.
My friend Jessica, who is one of my best friends in the world.
Jessica.
Jessica's getting married to an awesome guy. I don't know his name. And I am playing guitar in the wedding on Friday night. So
for Jessica and what's his name?
For Jessica and what's his name?
Nice.
So, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Jessica's my homie. We're buds.
Apparently not
her.
Her husband so well.
Yeah, I don't know him very well.
Well, all's well here. We're doing well, man. You know, rocking and rolling. BP continues to plug away, and it's getting cool. Finally, I'm pretty excited about the fall. So
finally. Oh, I thought you meant like cool as in like this is cool, like Fonzie cool.
Yeah, BiggerPockets is finally cool.
It's finally cool.
Yeah, it took 11 years to get there.
It is not cool yet. All right, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Awesome, man. Well, got a good show as we typically do, and
I really liked today's show, and we just got done. I really liked it. Probably because I'm kind of introverted. You know, people might not know that because I'm on the podcast, but that's why I'm here because you can't see me.
I will tell a funny story to our BiggerPockets. I will.
I think you've told.
It's a running joke.
Introvert stories about.
So when we had our 10-year party here at BiggerPockets, Brandon was in attendance, and there were a lot of people. The room was packed, and Brandon Turner, this tall guy that everybody knows, was
good looking, handsome, muscular. Keep going.
We're talking about a different guy. The guy I'm talking about was hiding in a corner.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Forgot about him.
He literally sat in the corner the entire. He
stood in the corner.
Yeah. Well, even if you sat, you'd be taller than everyone else.
It was like the bathroom wall. Like, it's not quite corner. It's like
close enough to the corner. Do you guys remember high school? Like the nerdy kids were like by the bathroom. Yeah. So that was Brandon the entire time. Didn't really move from that area. Now, granted, lots of people came to him because
that's what I do.
See a mountain in a room.
I just stand there and let people come to me. I just draw them in. The law of attraction right here.
It's our running joke at BiggerPockets about how Brandon is going to go hide in the corner when
that's what I do.
People show up. So anyway,
that's why the show's going to be good. But we'll get to that in a minute. Before we do, let's do today's quick tip. All right. Today's quick tip is we've got a lot of changes happening to the BiggerPockets calculators, especially the rental property calculator. And I mean, because we're recording this a few weeks before the show comes out, I don't know exactly the state it'll be in, but every other day or so, it changes dramatically. So go check it out, biggerpockets.com/calc, see what's different today. And it's becoming very, very helpful in my life, and it's going to become increasingly helpful in your life as well over the coming months. So check it out, biggerpockets.com/calc.
And not just that, but we're
revamping a lot of stuff.
We got a lot of stuff coming, guys. A lot of big changes coming soon. Look, feel, tools, things like that. So definitely, if you haven't been on the site in a while, check back at biggerpockets.com. Before we introduce our guest, just big thanks to everybody for all the ratings and reviews. Yeah. You guys have been amazing. They're coming in, and they're fantastic, especially the ones that tell me to shut up. I love those. Those are awesome. So
those are my favorite.
Yeah. No, you guys, they're really supportive. We really appreciate them. And if you haven't yet left us one, please do so on iTunes. And
we have 1,567 reviews on iTunes. So
not enough.
Thank you.
Not enough. We're waiting for 2,000.
There we are.
All right, Brandon, let's do this. Today's show featuring Danny Johnson. Danny's been around for about 12 years as a real estate investor. He's done all sorts of stuff, wholesaling, flipping. He's probably one of the better marketers out there.
Yeah.
He's really great at online. He's great at offline as well.
But he's a little shy.
He's a shy guy.
A little bit quiet. Yeah. And I know for me, like I said earlier, that obviously appeals to me. That's why I like today's show. And if you guys are not super A-type personality and, angry New Yorker like Josh here, you might pick up some really good tips today on how to invest in real estate when maybe you're not as outgoing as you.
And you don't have to be angry like me. I mean,
Not many people are as angry as you.
Wow. It's not true what they say, folks. Really,
it is true.
I'm not that angry. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so Danny's great. We're really excited to have him, and let's just get to this thing and make moves. So, cool. Danny. All right, Danny. Welcome back to the show, man. It's been a while. Show 18, I believe, was your episode. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome, or thank you, I should say. Yeah,
let's interview Brandon here. Welcome.
It's been so long. I was like, what is your name again? No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, no love.
Yeah. Well, last time, we talked to you, we talked a lot about, we talked about flipping, we talked about wholesaling, we talked about marketing. Yeah, we did marketing. We did a lot of cool stuff like that. So today, we're going to talk about a little bit about that as well. But first of all, I want to know, for those people, well, maybe I don't want to know, I know. For those people who don't know you, maybe didn't listen to the last episode, who are you? What do you do?
Okay, well, I'm
quick and dirty, yeah.
Danny Johnson, and I flip houses in San Antonio. My wife and I have been flipping houses, I think it's 12 years now, maybe a little bit more.
Whoa.
Time flies like crazy, but we've rehabbed and flipped over 200 houses over that amount of time, and we're still actively doing it. I blog at Flipping Junkie is my blog where I talk about a lot of that. But the flipping is what we mainly do with rehabbing and then wholesaling and some bird dogging, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. And you've been doing this, you said 12 years. So in that time, you've clearly seen the market being really, really good.
Yeah.
And then really, really bad.
Yeah.
And then really, really good. At least, right. And when I say good and bad, I'm talking about in terms of, maybe a buyer's market. I mean, houses are selling really well, and then houses are not selling very well, and then houses are selling well. Because, honestly, right, to a lot of investors, we could say it's the opposite. The market was really, really bad for us, and then it was really, really good for us, and then it was really, really bad for us. And
right, and that's the thing. It's like it's going to be either easy to find deals or easier to find deals and a little bit tougher to sell the houses, or it's going to be harder to find good deals but really easy to sell them. And right now we're in a position where it's pretty hard to find good deals, but selling them is pretty easy. Like houses here in San Antonio are flying off the market really fast. Typically when we have something for sale, as soon as it's listed, it's sold within a day or two.
Wow.
And it's been like that for a little while. So
yeah, that's great. So I kind of want to get caught up to here. So we had you, it was about 2.5 years ago, give or take. Again, at that point you were doing, I think it was a bit of wholesaling and a bunch of flipping. Take us through the last 2 years. What was the shift? You said you're primarily doing the flipping now. Does that mean you've totally stopped doing any wholesaling or?
No, we still do wholesaling and really the rehabbing, you make more money on a rehab typically than you do on a wholesale. And when the market's so good, houses selling, really fast, that anything that makes sense to rehab gets rehabbed and sold, retail. And so what I mean by anything that makes sense for a rehab and retail is that houses in the area where I get the lead, wherever that house is, if there's houses selling there on the MLS, people are getting new loans for them, then that's going to be one that we're going to pick up to fix up and sell. Now, the ones that I wholesale are typically the houses that are in areas that are a little bit lesser, they're less than median home price, and they're just not in that great of areas where the prices and the retail sales aren't there. So it just makes more sense for me to wholesale those to landlords and other people doing owner finance and things like that.
Okay.
Got it. By the way, I just realized something. I feel like I'm interviewing Sean Penn. Has anyone ever told you that you are like the doppelganger of Sean Penn?
Yeah, my old job, I got that all the time.
Oh my God, I just realized
It's been a
that.
while, though.
Fascinating. Yeah, look at that.
That's funny. I can see it.
Do you see it?
I see it. I like it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm always hearing the Maroon 5 thing with you. I forgot that guy's name, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I
But he was the
So we gotta figure
sexiest
out who
man on
Brandon-
earth. So, it's
yeah, we gotta
I'll
figure out
take
who
that.
Brandon is now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like Shaggy Doo or something.
Well, there's that Slim Jim commercial with the Sasquatch.
Okay, yeah, that's me. That's me. Okay, so let's talk about wholesaling real quickly because I realize, I do a lot of webinars on BP and people ask a lot of questions during them. And one of the questions they always ask is, what the heck is wholesaling? And I feel like we talk about it all the time, and so people should know. But honestly, newbies don't know necessarily what wholesaling is. So real quickly, can you kind of explain what is wholesaling? What are we talking about?
Okay, with the wholesaling, what we're talking about, well, there could be several things that we're talking about, but in general, the way I see wholesaling is where you are buying a house, but you're not actually going to close on the house and fix it up yourself and sell it. You might actually close it, but your intention is to not really fix it up. And so the ways to do that are you have the assignment of contract. So if you put the house under contract to buy, so let's say Joe Seller is selling their house for $50,000, and you put it under a contract for $50,000. And let's say that house is worth $100,000, and I have a ton of investors that are willing to buy that at 70% minus repairs. And not to get too far into math here, but if we bought it at 50, there's $20,000 between what my investor would pay for it and what I'm buying it for. So if the repairs are less than that, I get to pocket the difference. So let's say, for sake of simplicity, 10,000 repairs. So now I can sell that to my investor for $10,000 because he'll be interested in buying it for 60, which is the $100,000 retail value minus the 30% because he wants to buy at 70% of market value. So that's 70,000 minus the 10,000 repairs. So he's willing to pay 60,000 for it, and I put it under contract for 50. I'm sorry.
50.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I would then sign an assignment of contract with him where he agrees to pay me the difference, which is the $10,000 when he closes on it. So I don't even close on the house. He closes, and I get paid once he closes. Typically, I'll accept a non-refundable earnest money deposit to make sure he's serious because I don't want an investor tying up the deal and then not being able to close because it makes me look bad because I'm the one that signed the original contract saying I would close. And so that gets into where you really need to have strong buyers. And we can go a long ways down that path of how to determine who's a serious investor buyer that you would assign these contracts to. And, but quickly we could talk about the other part of wholesaling, which is a double close, which is a lot safer these days because there's states like Ohio and things like that. Brandon, you and I were talking about that the other day, where there's some issues with assignments of contract or, just with things being a little bit unclear and
Brokering and all that.
Yeah, brokering, where if you're not an agent and they look at it like you're brokering, you're finding a buyer for a seller of a house. But and some people look at it like, well, if you have it under contract, you have a vested interest in, and so you're actually selling the contract, not the house. But that's where it's sort of a gray area in some of those states. So one of the ways that we talked about being able to get around that is to do the double close, where you actually do close on it, and then you have your buyer turn around and close. So it's two transactions, like you and the homeowner. So the homeowner's a seller, you're the buyer. And on the second transaction, you're the seller and your investor buyer is the buyer. And so with that, you're actually owning the property before you sell it, even if that's just for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I like that you brought up finding a buyer you can count on. I know we've talked about it, but I think it'd be a good topic to kind of dip into a little bit here. How do you do that? I mean, how do I know that you, the flipper, right, are somebody that I can count on, or you, the landlord, or somebody that I can count on to actually end up closing the deal as a wholesaler? How can I trust? How can I trust you?
Yeah, and that comes into the research of how you found out about me. And what I like to do is find the people that I know bought houses, and they paid cash for them. They closed quickly. Either other people told me that they did, or I saw that they actually did.
Yeah.
And there's ways to check the MLS for properties that were sold and then check deed records online. Most places have deed records online, and you can see who bought them. So you can find out who's buying a lot of the deals. So if you have a list of people that paid cash for properties, then you can start to contact them and say, hey, you want more deals. I'm a wholesaler. I can find exact deal just like this one that you bought at X and XYZ address. And then that they're pretty serious. And one quick way that I also determine whether somebody is real serious is when you talk to them about a deal. If the investor buyer says, okay, what's the address? What's the price? Is there a way to get in? I know they're usually pretty serious. The guy that's asking how old's the roof or what shape is the carpet in, you could go either way. But typically I'm going to say that person's probably not going to be able to commit very quickly. Typically the guys that are buying a lot and quickly are straight to the point. I just want to know how I can look at it, what the price is, and I'll tell you yes or no.
Interesting.
And so, that makes sense. That's how I do that briefly. Right.
Yeah, I mean, those guys, they know when they go in, they're going to figure it out, right? So what do they need to waste your time with the details? They're going to come to their own evaluation on what it's worth regardless and what the repairs are regardless, right?
Right. And some people, it's one of those things with finding a contractor's similar to this. Sometimes people don't want to, and I know I say that because I had this trouble. We're busy, we're rock and rolling, doing deals, looking at leads, making offers, and it comes time where we have trouble with our contractor. I've got to find a new contractor, and then I'm thinking, man, I don't really feel like spending time trying to find a good contractor. So I talk to a couple. If he seems decent, like, all right, let's go. But then you run into problems quickly, and it's like a nightmare. Yeah. And typically, as a rehabber, if you've got bad contractors, it's a nightmare. It's as simple as that. So taking the time to find the right contractor, taking the time to find the right buyer, cash buyer for properties is well worth all the time spent. And so you can build up a big buyers list as a safety net, but really what you want to do is find the 4 or 5 guys that are really serious, really good, are not going to waste your time. It just saves so much time, hassle, and effort, and then you don't have to worry, like, is this going to close? I'm so worried I got to check in. I don't know if this guy's going to be able to close. Then I'm, scrambling to find another buyer and all that. Because you definitely don't want to end up going back to the seller and say, hey, I couldn't close. I need more time. All those kind of things. When you're promising a quick close, you need to be able to do it. So find the serious buyers for that. So
yeah. Makes sense. No, that's great. Good explanation. I think it's awesome. So, all right. So you are in Texas. The market is pretty good on the sales side. It's fairly competitive on the acquisition side. So what are you doing? How are we getting in there and scrapping up deals that the other thousands of investors aren't getting their hands on?
All right, so that's that gets into what we're doing. I mean, basically these days, all I'm really using is my website, Danny Buys Houses, to generate my leads for me. And that said, you can get leads and everything, but with the competition, typically where we're picking some things up is where there's follow-up. So there may be a lot of competition, but you got to look at how much competition of your competition is actually following up with people. And not only that, who's picking up their phone? I just talked to a seller yesterday. He called me up and said, I called 5 people, I think, before me. And my first thought was, man, how come I wasn't first? But, he called 5 people before me, and he said all of those were machines. And he said, you know what I do? I hang up on those. I don't want to talk to a machine. I want to talk to a person. He said, you're the first one that picked up his phone. And so if he's got that kind of attitude, and I talk to him, set up an appointment to see his house, and let him feel like he's accomplished what he set out to, even if those other people call him back a lot of times, he might not even want to mess with them, Yeah. And I guarantee you that probably if the 4 or 5 that he called before me, if any of them did call back, it was probably only one anyway. That's just the way it goes. It's weird. People spend all that time and energy, doing marketing, but not answering their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And it's like, it's the small things in business that give you that competitive advantage. And you're right. I mean, I think people, you even see it on the forums. They talk about, well, what's the best, how do I leave my voicemail and what should it sound like and things like that. And you're like, just answer, just pick up or pay for a service to answer the phone for you so that at least you get those people on the phone, because it's true. These people, the folks that you're marketing to primarily as a wholesaler are people who, they don't have a lot of time for the BS, so to speak. I typically they're folks who are in a position where, they could list it on the MLS if they had time for the BS. If they want to be done with it,
Right.
they want to talk to somebody and knock it out.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So, your
Well,
website.
if I
Go
could
ahead.
say real quick too, like the thing with answering the phone that I hear a lot of people, talking about using Google Voice. And I'm not sure I don't know if the thinking is like, I need another number because I don't want people calling my cell phone. Like, honestly, you're not going to have your phone ringing off the hook. If it did, that's awesome. I'd love for my phone to ring off the hook with leads. But, when you first do that marketing, you feel like, oh, it's going to ring off the hook, and then it doesn't. And you're just like, wow, what'd I do wrong? But you just don't get a lot of calls for people wanting to sell their house super cheap. But the Google Voice thing really bugs me because I know myself, when I call a number and it says, say your name so I can try to reach the subscriber. It's like, I don't want to mess with that. I just hang up.
I turn that off on my Google Voice because I want it just to ring my phone like a normal phone.
Can you do that?
Yeah, you can turn that off. And
I didn't know you could do
I didn't
that
even
either.
know
I
that.
turn that off because I hate that thing too. And so you can definitely turn it off. And so
People should. If they use one, definitely, I think a lot of people just hang up on that.
Yep, I think so too. I definitely think so. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, it's easy to send out direct mail letters. I mean, relatively, it's not very scary. It's easy to drive for dollars, somewhat. It's easy to look at properties on the MLS. It's scary to answer your phone and talk to somebody live. So maybe can we just do something kind of fun here? I think it'd be fun. You guys want to do some role playing?
Well, sure.
I want to work through this with you because I want to pretend that I am. Let's say you're Danny, and I just called your website, and I'm a house seller. You guys up for this?
Brandon! Who's on the phone?
Yeah. Okay. So I just found your website online, and
Stop calling those telemarketers!
Thanks, Mom.
I'm your wife!
Is that what Heather sounds like? Oh, she'll love you for that. All right. So let's just do some quick role playing here. So I'm just calling you. So ring. All right. I just called your cell.
Hi, this is Danny.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I found your website online about your house that you buy.
Yeah. Do you have a house that you'd like to sell?
I do. Well, I think so anyway. I mean, I got it as a inheritance. My father passed away last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, and could you tell me a little bit about the house? What part of town it is?
Sure. It's over by the Safeway over on 3rd Street. Kind of back in that area. It's a pretty good area, and it was rented for a long time to my brother-in-law, who ended up not paying rent for a couple of years, and now it's just kind of trashed. And so I just kind of want to get rid of it at this point. But
Okay, yeah, that's a common situation that I hear a lot. People want to help out their family and siblings, and gets a little bit taken advantage of. Sometimes the house gets destroyed. Do you mind giving me the address of the house?
sure, it's 123 3rd Street.
Wow, easy.
Yeah,
easy to
pretty easy.
remember. And how many bedrooms and bathrooms does the house have?
We've got, I think there's 3 bedrooms on the main floor and then 1 upstairs, and there's 2 bathrooms total.
Okay, and what kind of general shape is the house in? Any major repairs needed? Foundation problems, plumbing, electrical?
The roof looks pretty bad. I mean, I can just kind of see a lot of water spots coming through the ceiling, and other than that, I think it's okay. I mean, there's, it's not great. I'm not gonna lie. It's not in great condition because he didn't clean for a couple of years, and then we just shut the door and left it for 6 months. So that's.
Oh, okay. Is there anything owed still on the property?
No, it was given to us just free and clear.
All right, and you have an asking price in mind for it?
I don't know. I was kind of hoping you could tell me that.
Sure, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. What time can I come over there today to see it?
Oh, today. I mean, I'm around right now. I can meet you anytime. I don't have a job,
Sure.
so I just retired.
Oh, okay, well that's great. Yeah, I can make it right over there. So I'll be there in about 30 minutes, and it doesn't take very long for me to go through the house, so I won't be keeping you there forever. I'm not gonna crawl underneath it or crawl over top of it or anything like that up in the attic or anything. So it's pretty quick. So
Okay.
Can I get your name and best way to reach you, telephone number?
Sure. All right, am I doing this? That was good.
That was good. That was good.
It's kind of weird when I'm looking at you on
I know.
video. It's not
You're
normally-
very what's the word I'm trying to think of? Disarming. There's no way to be angry at Danny or like, even if you were just like pissed off for some reason, like he's so soft spoken and gentle that like, like I feel like I'm going to get a hug.
Yeah. A couple of things that I noticed that I liked. I mean, first of all, you definitely like identified with me in a number of cases. Like, oh yeah, I know that happens a lot. People get taken advantage of. It wasn't you're stupid. Why'd you rent to your brother-in-law? Or why is he there for 2 years? I mean, it was very much like, oh yeah, this happens. I mean, almost like, yeah, you're the victim.
Well, it's that disarming. It's relating to the other person so that they feel
and the general flow of my conversations, because it changes depending on what they tell me, and if it's like he started talking about, Brandon, you started talking about, the situation. So I wanted to be quiet as much as I could to let you talk about all the situation so that I can get to really what the bottom of the story is, and then going from there, just find out some details about the house really quick. And then when you get to the point where you can talk about what's owed, because that's obviously really important. If they owe a whole lot of money on it, you don't want to waste their time. So, find that out. And really, people are afraid to ask people that how much is owed on it. And really, if you're talking to somebody that's, like selling the house on the MLS for top dollar, it's been completely fixed up, looks brand new, asking them what they owe, they might take offense to it. But motivated sellers, or just sellers that want to sell something like in your situation in that role playing, it's just like how you handled it. They just tell you. It's not a big deal to them.
Yeah. Well,
so if you just ask.
Let me ask you, what would you have said had I said, oh yeah, we owe quite a bit on that. He more leveraged it out pretty well, or had a high mortgage. It was, I don't know, let's say $150,000 we owe on it, and you knew it was worth like 160. Like, what would you say at that point?
At that point, I think, well, it depends on how much I really felt like I knew whether that was the value. A big city like San Antonio, there's some areas I do know pretty well, but there can still be some pockets that are a little bit more or whatever. So I don't typically say, one way or the other, like, oh, I can't do it right away. I still want to do a little bit of research. And some things that you can ask is if you know what other houses in the area are selling for, because sometimes they have done research, they've talked to realtors and they know. And then the other thing is to ask maybe what the county has it, assessed at. Because a lot of times that can give you at least a rough idea. But if then you could also ask how long ago did they buy it? If they bought it last year and then you ask how much they put down and they didn't put barely anything down, maybe it was FHA or something, then likely there's not much room. You know what I mean? But otherwise, if I have any doubt or I'm not really completely sure of what it could sell for, I still try to set the appointment. And, obviously it won't be like where if they're going to be over there, like leaving to go over there right away, it's something where there's a little bit of time. Then I can quickly get off the phone and do the research. And then if it's like definitely I can't do anything with it, if I know another investor I think might be able to, then I'll contact the seller again and say, I'm sorry, it doesn't really fit my criteria after I did the research. But Johnny, my good friend, said he was looking for some houses recently. He's willing to pay a little bit more. So would you mind me having him give you a call? And then that way you still, you can still refer, the lead maybe. But otherwise it's, just sorry, I don't want to waste your time. I don't think I could buy the house.
Right on. No, that's great. That's great.
And then sometimes if they're, if they don't maybe seem really motivated to, and it seems like they don't owe that much, but they seem like they really want a lot of money for it. Sometimes then also I'll do the research and then call them back and say, look, I don't want to waste any of your time. It seemed like you want a little bit more than I might be able to pay. I can probably get you something around this number, like a ballpark figure. That way I can feel them out just a little bit more. Because, a lot of times you'll think that, oh, they're not that motivated. Then you tell them I can pay you this ballpark. And they say, oh, that sounds reasonable. Yeah. It's like they're a little bit more motivated than they let on. So be careful with assumptions.
The phone call thing, the phone marketing, is something that a lot of people associate with wholesaling, right? It's the, build the lead website to get those off-market deals so that you can wholesale them. At least that's what I tend to hear, right? Why do you think more flippers and landlords are not actually doing the full marketing push that the average wholesaler is doing?
Well, see, that's sort of surprising to me because I've always done I haven't always done the motivated seller marketing, but we And it's actually funny because my wife and I were just sort of talking about this the other day when we were going on for a walk. See, I had, I guess the story starts with a tattoo.
Okay.
Oh my God, really?
So Melissa, my wife and I, she's in the business with me, has been since the beginning. And we went and did a long vacation to San Francisco just a week. I guess it's already been a week and a half ago. But anyway, so we went to
tattoo-cation?
Yeah, well, we didn't plan on it until we got there. And so, you know what? Let's get tattoos. So I got a BiggerPockets tattoo.
Right now, ladies and gentlemen, Danny has pulled his shirt off and is showing us a giant pocket on his chest.
Right.
It's too bad we changed our logo and nobody knows what the hell that is.
You mean it's not in Old English? No, but anyway, so we got the tattoos and everything, and it was sort of. But anyway, that was fun and interesting. But the reason why I'm talking about that is we came back, and I had lunch with one of our first mentors that we had, one of the very first ones, and I wanted to talk with him, get some advice from him, because we still get advice from mentors, everybody should, but about estate planning. And, that's really important because it's so easy to put off things like that. But, man, it's really important to take care of a lot of your estate stuff, especially once you get into business and start doing things and get assets. But so I was talking with him, and, and the conversation started out. We talked about the trip and everything that my wife and I took and told him I got a tattoo. And he said, well, I'd like to see it. So I showed him my arm. And, he looked really interested, and then the look changed to a look of concern. Like, he goes, that looks like it might be infected. It was like swollen and red, and I had been looking at it and think, yeah, it's kind of tender still, but it'd been like almost, probably 5 days, I guess. And so I started wondering the whole time, like, is this thing really infected? And so the whole talk that we were having about estate planning, like he's telling me all this awesome advice and everything, but I'm kind of like switching my mind between two things. I'm thinking about infection and then like everything he's trying to tell me. So that was hilarious. But anyway, it's not infected, by the way. It's healing up nicely.
Oh, good.
Actually waiting for the scabs to fall off. No, but okay, so
wow.
Said that, didn't I? All right. So my wife and I we were talking on our walk about, when I was meeting with one of our mentors and, sort of, talking about what it was like when we got started, right? And, the struggles that we went through and how hard, like just trying to put ourselves back in that position again. Like, it's been a while, but, we were able to. It's sort of like when you smell something and it like makes you remember of a place you were at or whatever. Like talking with my mentor, like, and all that kind of stuff brought a lot of the memories back. But when we got started, and this ties in, trust me, it's like
by the way, I was going to say the smell of infection reminds me of San Francisco. So I get it.
See, now you're going to be thinking infection this whole time, but yeah. You're going to make me lose my train of thought here. Okay, so we
you're with your wife, you're walking down the street and you get a tattoo, it gets infected. I don't know. I'm lost already myself.
Okay,
you guys are talking about
we're talking about marketing. We're talking about why people, like a lot of other people, rehabbers and stuff, don't go with the motivation marketing.
Yeah.
So when we were talking, whenever I first was getting started, like figuring out how I was going to get deals, my father had, I forgot who it was. It was somebody's course, and it was on VHS tapes. It was old, and it was like grainy VHS video footage stuff. But this guy's like making calls, like cold calls to FSBO for sale by owner people in the ads and the newspaper classifieds, and trying to do creative real estate with them. So he'd call them and say, oh, how much are you asking? And all this weird stuff. If I were to do this and 5 years from now, I'll give you a nickel, and then... that kind of thing. It's like, I was thinking, man, I can't do that. Like, first of all, I'm mostly an introvert, and just like the thought of calling these people out of the blue saying I'm going to buy their house from them, cash, or these other weird things, terrified me, right? And so I watched that, and I don't know if I maybe took something from it or not, but I don't think so. I was like, I definitely don't want to do that. So what can we do to find deals? And so then it was, well, let's get listed properties. When we researched things on the internet and we found like people are buying what's called REO properties, the bank-owned properties off the MLS. So these are bank foreclosures that realtors list and sell. And so we started going to look at those, right? So we went and looked at those and we were trying to make offers. and build relationships, because people on the forums and everything say, well, build relationships, get pocket listings. And, it sounds so simple, right? Well, I'm just going to go build a relationship and get pocket listings. But when you've never done a deal, how the heck do you do that, right?
Hey, baby,
like
can
you
I have
can't
your
call and say,
pocket
give me your
listing?
pocket listings. They're going to laugh at you, or hang up on you, or, put you on the blacklist. But so there's got to be some strategy involved. And I think that most people starting out, that's just not probably a good place to start, because you're going to get disheartened and find out that people don't want to do that. And it's just not as easy as people made it out to be. And so then the next step was, and so that's something that you can do. And obviously we ended up building relationships, but that's after several years in the business. And it really actually even took the market downturn in 2008, because a lot of our competition went by the wayside. And so those realtors didn't have a lot of the people they were selling to, because they went out of business. So then we were able to build relationships. But anyway, so that led us to, okay, well, MLS stuff seems like there's a lot of people chasing after that. It's really kind of difficult. And then I'm not going to cold call FSBO people and offer them a nickel in 3 years. And then and so it was like, well, let's do the marketing that we see. There's people who put the bandit signs up and things like that. And for the people that don't know what a bandit sign is, it's the ones on the telephone poles. But you have to be careful, because in most places they're illegal. And I honestly don't really recommend it anymore in most places. Some places you can get permits for them, so you can look into that with your city. But
that sounds like a great idea, Danny.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody told me that was a good idea to, put the disclaimer on that. But I don't do signs anymore. And anyway, so this is the other marketing though that you can do. And we were doing, what we started with was driving for dollars and driving around looking for vacant houses and sending letters to the owners and postcards. And, I was interested in just getting some deals, so I just didn't really worry too much about what was on the postcards. I think some of our initial ones had like a sky background with like some cash, like some $100 bills like spread across the front. In the back, it just said, I want to buy, I'd like to buy your house at so-and-so address, and then give us a call. And it worked. People called us. It wasn't from every one of them, but, we didn't send out that many to begin with and got some calls. But it was really interesting how that works, because then before we were chasing after deals, and sort of now it's like you get deals coming to you, or leads at least. They might not be deals, but then, you have people calling you, and instead of you chasing them, you're sort of chasing them by putting the marketing out. But so we always, like from the beginning, so we tried the MLS stuff and then went to that. And so I've always been under the impression that a lot of people do go after, the seller marketing. That's a long way around that.
I was going to ask, how did your wife get involved? I mean, like, you guys were debating. We never heard that part. We never heard what the tattoo is actually of. And yeah.
Okay, so the tattoo is it's a 3-bladed airplane propeller, because I'm crazy about aviation.
Nice.
And so I got a 3-bladed propeller on my forearm.
Nice.
Right on. And then the debate with your wife was just general conversation, like, why are more people not doing this, is kind of what I'm hearing.
Well, I don't know that we debated it. It was just more of a, I don't recall really debating. I don't know where that came from.
I might have put words in your mouth. That's possible. That was a really long story.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. It was somewhat interesting, at least. But, I think a lot of people go through that, though. They think, they struggle with where to, like, that's the talk that we had. It wasn't a debate. It was more of like, like talking about, how it used to be with us trying to figure out everything that we can to find a lead. Because really, until you have leads, like, you're not going anywhere in the business.
So you don't need to buy the buyer's list. You don't need to do all this drama. You just got to get the leads, right?
Right. Start taking calls, right? Talk to, even if you're not sure where to get the money. And I can go into a whole nother long story about how we started.
Please don't. I mean, yeah, sure. Later.
Later.
Well, here's what I want to know. I mean, how old are you right now? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 37.
Okay. So 12 years ago, you're 25-ish years old.
And I look 16.
Okay, you look 16. What advice does 37-year-old Danny give to 25-year-old Danny just getting started out? You're sitting down with you and your wife. You're the mentor now. What do you tell these, complete newbies? How do you get going?
Okay, so what I would tell myself is, first of all, don't worry that you look too young. Have confidence and people will take you seriously. I don't know how many times, I'm sorry, I always go into these stories and stuff, but I don't know how many times I went to the house and the people would actually tell me, so is your dad the one that buys the houses? And I'm taken aback a little bit by it, but you just have to be confident and say, no, I'm actually the one. We've bought, 20 houses or, whatever. But all right, so what I would tell myself is basically don't worry about people thinking I'm too young, because I was 25 when I started and I looked like I was 16. And honestly, some of the sellers would ask me, so is your dad the one that actually buys the houses? So, I'd have to tell them, nice. No, I'm the one that buys the houses. But confidence goes a long way in all of this. When you're dealing with sellers, honestly, they're trusting you to be able to close and buy their house, so that these big decisions that they make with whatever they're doing with the money or wherever they're moving to, and all that sort of thing is going to be taken care of. So that's huge. Not enough people talk about, how much trust they're having in us to be able to do what we're saying we're going to do. So having that confidence, I think, goes a long way, and that gets into sort of the mindset. So I'm going to take this answer and go forever with it, but the mindset of knowing, having the confidence of building and knowing that you're going to get deals changes the way you approach all of this, whether you know it or not. And I think the people that can come to that conclusion and feel that way and be that way with the confidence when they're doing this end up with a lot more deals than the people that don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's so much conversation about getting going. There's so much conversation about building your business. There's so much conversation about the fears and things that people are afraid of. I wish there were more conversation about just, getting that mindset that you need in order to be successful, right? I mean, because there is a frame of mind that you have to be in, and I think lots of people never start because of that frame of mind. It's why we ask the last question on every single show that Brandon asks, about people succeeding versus not getting started. There is a frame of mind that you have to get to, and it's kind of fun to think back, particularly when there's folks who have been doing this for a long time, to say, what has changed for me since then? Because I had to be in the right mindset to get to the starting point. But how did that mindset transition over time? You've been doing this for 12 years. So my question to you is, what has that transition been? Because you first had to get to the place, let me get started. How'd you get to the place, I want to really start to grow this and scale this, become full-time, and kind of go on and going on and on.
Yeah, and that it's interesting because you can make transitions in the positive directions, but then you can also transition back to negative directions, even over this many years. And I was telling Brandon that, that recently I sort of dealt with that. But in the beginning, when there's the wondering about, is this possible in my area? My father was flipping houses, so I knew it was possible, even though he was in a different area. We're in San Antonio. He buys outside of San Antonio. But, so I saw other people doing it. And then, we met our mentor and everything, and I knew that he had been doing it for a long time. So I knew, but even though other people that do it, you wonder if you're able to, right? You wonder if you are going to be able to do some of those things that they're going to be able, that they do. And until you really get that first deal, it's going so much on faith. It's going so much on, having the ability to work through and just know that no matter what, you're going to make it. You're going to change things up as you go. And no matter what, you're going to, make it, do what has to be done, and eventually you're going to make it. And so, I don't know, that seems like a lot of words for some people, but really there's a lot of meaning behind it. And after you get that first one, you've done it. You've done it, and it becomes so much easier, and the next ones come quicker and quicker, and before you know it, you're wondering why you ever doubted it, right?
Yeah.
But it's just getting that first one, and the whole thing is just plowing ahead, going, I'm not giving up. If this isn't working, I'm not just going to throw up my arms and say it doesn't work here. I can't do it. And it's funny because I used to think before we had done our first deal, because I think it took us 6 months or so to do it, 4 or 6 months or something. And I remember thinking, well, maybe, like our mentor and other people we know, it was easier for them because there weren't as many investors. And probably a lot these days, people are thinking that same thing, right? So it's like you get the excuse, to bail yourself out, like, a reason excuse to be able to give up because it's different now. But it's not.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming back to this whole thing where I said that sometimes you make the transition back even because things have gotten real heated here. And I went through several months of not getting a deal. And I was starting to think, oh, the competition's gotten to the level where it's crazy. I'm just having more trouble getting deals. And I started getting that mindset. It was weird, and I wasn't getting anything. And then one day, I don't know, I think I was talking to my dad or somebody. I think it was my dad. We were having breakfast, and I think he said, you know what, just put more effort into it like you used to, and I'm sure within this week you're going to have a deal. Well, I was able to call him like early the next week and say I put 3 houses in a contract.
That's
nice.
awesome.
Like it's just getting that mental shift again. And it's like I didn't even really do different marketing over that time period. It's just that all of a sudden things, it's the whole law of attraction thing maybe, but if you expect to get something, you're more likely to get it. So it's always, it seems hokey pokey or is that the right saying? It seems kind of funny, but there's a lot of truth to that, I think. And and even experienced investors can fall into that trap of thinking negatively. It's not just new investors. So it's always good to take a step back and say, am I just making excuses? Is this really the reality? I don't, it is still easy to get deals.
Yeah. Right on, man. Right on. Well, let me ask you, that was a beep. All right. So you're a classic introvert, a professed classic introvert. Gave us a lot of pretty decent advice on ways to kind of overcome, get your mindset going, doing your marketing. I mean, your path, it seems like a pretty good path for somebody who doesn't want to necessarily bang on doors or pick up the phone outbound, things like that. What other advice do you have for introverts who might just be afraid because they're like, well, I don't particularly love talking to people. I love the numbers. I love real estate, but man, I'm just afraid of people or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not afraid of people, so I don't know what that's about.
Drink lots of coffee.
Power up with coffee. Nice.
No, but seriously, no, it's a great question though. I mean, because I really did struggle with like, how the heck am I going to go and talk to strangers and be confident in everything? But it's funny because about other things, I guess maybe I have trouble small talk with people sometimes and things like that. But when it comes to real estate, I don't know what it is. Like you can't shut me up a lot of times with some of it. But so you might find something about yourself if you do the marketing and you get a call and you've got to take the call and find out some things. And you might just find out that you are great at talking to people with these situations and, have a lot of fun with it. So it's just a matter of trying it because you might be surprised. I was completely surprised. I think during the other podcast episode we did, I think it was 18 was what we said.
Yeah. With
BiggerPockets, I think I told the story of the first phone call that we got that was a number I didn't recognize. So it was from our marketing, and I threw the phone to my wife because I was too afraid to answer, right? Yep. So, awesome. And she fumbled around with it, but she, at least she took the call. I think we called them back 2 or 3 times afterwards and had to like ask them additional questions. But the next time the phone rang with another caller, I knew what I needed to ask. Yeah. And you develop that over time. But
hey, right on. So I've got really one last set of quick questions before we move to the fire round. I know Brandon wanted to ask something as well. So you're in a good market. Market's hot, at least on the upside or, positive side. It's hard to find deals, but you can get rid of them pretty quickly. I don't foresee that continuing forever. In fact, I think things are going to start getting a lot tougher pretty soon for a lot of markets. So you've been doing this for a few cycles now, a cycle and a half, 2 cycles ish. How does somebody continue running a flipping business when the market is turning the other way and prices are potentially coming down? It's easier to buy those deals, but getting rid of them might be a little more of a challenge. What do you do to remain competitive? And earlier you had spoken about, buying properties from people who didn't survive. So how do you avoid being that guy? I think it's kind of one general question.
Yeah, and it's actually very simple. I was going to say, it's a great question.
Does it come with a story about tattoos?
No, but it boils down to my whole thing all along. Like anytime I hear people talking about a lot of like crazy creative deal type stuff, I don't know. It's just not me. Maybe I'm just a simple person. I don't like to get into complex, crazy, risky situations that sound good on paper, but when you bring in the human element, it just completely falls apart.
Yeah.
So my whole thing has always been like, so as an example, somebody says, I'm willing to buy that house as a lease option or a subject to or something, and I'll pay 20% more than I normally would because it's this type of financing. It's like I don't like that at all. It's still you're buying a thin deal. I don't care how you try to spice it up and make it seem like something's going to be better because you got some kind of other thing. What the numbers boil down to is all I care about. I mean, if I can get it with subject to or something awesome, lower interest rate or something, that's just an extra. It's a cherry on top or something. But I always just make sure that you stick with those conservative numbers and if you always do stick with conservative numbers and buy and never adjust too much to try to get more deals, then you're not going to be that person that ends up when the downturn and prices start dropping stuck and then all of a sudden wondering what the heck you're going to do.
Yeah.
I think that's good advice.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I there's that famous quote, right, that says, like, I think Warren Buffett said about like a rising tide lifts all ships, but what is it, like the falling tide shows who's swimming naked. Like a lot of like really creative, clever, like like you said, like I'll pay you more now and I'll way overpay for this property because I think whatever, like that stuff might work in a great market, but when the market turns, those are the people left swimming naked. I see that in the last one, a lot of people lost a lot of stuff because they didn't think that could happen to them.
Well, I think it's a lot of. Well, I was going to say really quick. I think it's a lot of that, but I think it's also a lot of untrained investors. I think it's a lot of folks who get in, and don't know what they're doing, don't know how to evaluate the deals, buy thin deals not because they're trying to do something fancy, but because they don't know their head from their tail, and they're trusting an agent who probably doesn't know their head from their tail. And right, I think that's the bulk of the losers, but I think there's also a big set of losers, not besmirching these folks, just saying financially losing, who do exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Josh. It's like anytime anyone's trying to tell you the numbers for a deal and they're selling you that deal, you might want to get another opinion from somebody else if you're not capable of being real sure about your due diligence and making sure those numbers are accurate. So, yeah.
And a good way to do that is at biggerpockets.com/calc, our BiggerPockets calculator suites designed for just that purpose.
Nice.
And it's an awesome calculator.
That was good. Did you like that? Yeah.
Thank you. All right, cool. Well, before we get out of here and go to the fire round, I want to talk a little bit about the website idea, right? So people know you often as like the lead propeller guy, right? You run leadpropeller.com, and that is an affiliate of BiggerPockets. So full disclosure, obviously you are we're an affiliate of you. But I love the idea of generating leads from a website, and clearly you're the expert on that. So I just want to talk a little bit about what should a good website, a good lead website, like what does that need to have? I have a lead propeller website and it does really, really well for me. Why is that? I mean, what SEO things or what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so with the websites, no matter what type of website you have, whether it's lead propeller or not, I think more so like, generating leads through SEO and getting your site up in the rankings. And for people that don't know, SEO is search engine optimization. So you optimize your website and try to get backlinks from other sites and things to get your site to show up in the search results for when people type in things like, we buy houses or sell my house fast and things like that. But that takes time. And so what you want to do is include websites on your marketing and things like that. And then you can start with also pay-per-click advertising, which is Google AdWords and things like that, where you pay to have your ad displayed, but you don't pay to display it. You just pay when someone clicks on your ad. And so you can generate traffic and leads that way. But as far as the website goes, so if there's ways to get traffic, right? And we talked about SEO and then AdWords, pay-per-click. So you can do things now and then build up SEO over time so you get some, free traffic. But once you have the traffic to your website, what happens, right? So they're coming there with a purpose. Like they have a situation. If we go back to the role playing where you called me and said you had a house for sale, like what is the mindset of what was your mindset? So if you were visiting the website and you wanted to sell a house quick because of that situation, you want to have the website speak to you. that because that's what you're looking for. You don't want to like go to a site and have it say something like, we're awesome real estate people, sold 20 houses in 2010. It's like it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't speak to what you're looking for. So it's got to be very specific, and people don't understand sometimes like there's so many websites now and everything. When people go to a website, typically they're not reading. Like you might think you have a website, people are going to read all the way through it, fall in love with it, all that kind of stuff. But really they're scanning. Like they go to the site, if they can't tell what it is about, it doesn't speak to them right away, they're probably bouncing, which means going back, hitting the back button. So the headline goes a long way. So that headline needs to speak to them. And, even just things as simple as we buy houses, get cash for your house within a week or something. Like something that's going to tell them exactly maybe what they're looking to do and get. And knowing, that people aren't typically going to scroll down to the bottom of a website. So you want to have your form up at the top to where they know, and they know what you want them to do with your website. So when they go to the website, they need to know really quickly what it's about so it speaks to them, and then know what you want them to do on your website. So you have to have a clear call to action to get them to submit that form. And what we've done with the websites is a 2-step process, basically where we have a short form that just gets their contact information and property address. And so it's not overwhelming. Like it's just a real quick thing. And once they submit that, you get a text and an email with those details. And they're taken to a longer form that asks more questions in a specific order so that you maximize how much they answer, because it sort of walks them through the reasoning of why they're wanting to sell and all that kind of stuff. And so even if they don't fill out the second one, although in my experience, 95% of people fill out the second one also. But of the ones that don't, you can still contact them because you at least got their initial contact information. Now, I wanted to share real quick a couple tools that are free to use, and it's great because it really shows you, no matter what type of site you have, it'll show you what people are doing on your site. And the company, the product is SumoMe, so it's SUMOME, and they've got free. And I'm not affiliated with them or associated with them at all. So I just think they have really cool tools that are free. So you can get those and put those on your site. And what the two of the tools that I like to use are the heat map tool and the content analysis tool. And so the heat map tool, it's really cool. It'll show you a heat map. It'll have an overlay on your website, and you can see where everybody's clicking on your website and the frequency of the clicks and everything. So you can see like the hot spots or where they're clicking more and all that kind of stuff. And so you set this thing up to record on your website on whatever page you want to find out where they're clicking, and you can view those. And then the content analysis tool shows you sort of like how far they're scrolling down. So it shows what they're looking at. And if they scroll down, so when you look at it, like typically the top part is really bright orange, red, yellow, because that's where people see when they get to it. But you'll be amazed a lot of times when you go to the bottom, like no one goes to the bottom. But anyway, so those tools are
awesome.
Well,
awesome.
I was going to say, because if most people run a software like that, I mean, if you run that on your website, you're going to find out that majority of people, like you said, don't even read your whole site. I mean, like they're there for like 2 seconds, and if they don't know exactly what to do within those 2 seconds, they're going to leave.
They're gone.
They're gone. Yep. And so you got to have a very clear call to action at the top, a clear headline, hook them in. And you don't need to spend, whatever. I think it's important. And I've used SumoMe a number of times. I actually really like the product as well. And it's free. So I know that I'm going to put up you sent me a picture of your actual lead gen site. I'm going to put that in the show notes page at biggerpockets.com/show144. I'll put up the actual picture of what yours, people can see where they clicked on your site. It's kind of cool. Just, I don't know, kind of neat thing. So check it out.
Also, two things really quick. SumoMe, a friend of ours, Noah Kagan, runs that, and it's a great product. And I'm not getting paid to plug it either, but we love Noah and we love what he's got there, and so definitely recommend folks check out SumoMe. And then we've been talking about your site's Lead Propeller, and we've got a perk on BiggerPockets for our pro members. If you go to biggerpockets.com/perks, we offer a discount to folks who purchase Lead Propeller websites, and we are affiliates. We actually make some money for it. It's a good way to support us, support Danny with great websites, but we only really kind of get behind products that we like and believe in, with founders that we like and believe in as well. So definitely check that out. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, go find something else.
One more cool thing.
Way to put it.
I just wanted to say this because I think this is just cool. It's a really good example. And this could be used in negotiation at all, but it's something that you do, Danny, with Lead Propeller, and you've done on your site. But again, people could take this, even if they don't use Lead Propeller, they could use it anywhere. The idea that you ask on that secondary form, how much or what's your asking price? And then you ask a second question and you said, what's the lowest you'll take? I got a lead in like 3 days ago on an apartment complex, and the guy wrote, what is your asking price? $250. What's the least you'll take? $230. In
20 grand.
Yeah, 20 grand in half a second. He just told me. I mean, like now that's the point I start negotiating is at $230, not at $250. Where had that not been, I mean, it's so simple, yet so effective. And I had to share that. I think that's awesome.
No, it is awesome. It's amazing how many people actually give you the lower price. Almost every single person will.
Yep.
They'll tell you an asking price. I mean, I don't know if they're like saying least and then they put that and then they go and change their asking price to be higher or not. But but they're always different and they're always lower. So they'll give you the site will negotiate for you. It's pretty cool to see.
I use that just in general negotiation everywhere. So I think it's just a cool tip. Something very cool. All right. Well, let's move over to the last segment of the show, which we lovingly call our fire round.
It's time for the fire round.
All right. These questions come direct out of the BiggerPockets forums. I pulled every one about an hour and a half ago, so these are all fresh, hot off the grill. So, number one, I just started a business and I quit my job. How do I get funding now?
How do you get funding now?
For his real estate deals. How does he get funding? He has no job.
Well, you might want to get a job so you can cover yourself for a little while. But anyway, it's because you got to have something to live on. With real estate, the paychecks might be a little bit of time between them, but they can be big, which is great. But yeah, you don't want to end up doing things quickly, making bad decisions because you don't have income coming in. So that's always recommended. But so if you're not maybe, and I'm guessing what you're meaning is like you can't go to the bank and get funding for a deal. We never went to a bank to get funding for our deals either, so you can definitely do this. The way that my wife and I got started was with a mentor that put up the money for the deals, and we did all the work. We found the deals, negotiated, put them under contract, handled the rehabs, and sold them, and then we split the profits 50-50. So we didn't really have any risk because we didn't put any money into it. The mentor did. And the way to get, and so a lot of people leave the answer at that, right? So it's like, get a mentor and they'll put half the money. So how do you get that person though?
Well, I can pay $50,000 to approach that mentor, can I?
What's that?
I said I could pay $50,000 to get that mentor, can I?
Oh no, that's not what I mean.
Well, you don't have money, so you're not going to pay the $50,000. But yeah,
Yeah, right. So that's So you can go to real estate investor association meetings, right? And most cities have these. Most of the time, I think they're free to go to. It's been a long time since I've been to one, but you need to talk around. Get out of your comfort zone. Talk to people. And it can just be about asking who here has been doing this the longest. Who can you give me a name of somebody in town that's been doing a lot of deals for a long time? And even ask, hey, do you know if they mentor people? And you want to find out who that is, right? So there's probably a couple people in most places that people know of that do this to train other people. And not necessarily for money either. Not like someone that's going to be like, oh, it's $50,000 and I'll train you for a day or something. But you can find out who's like active investor and willing to mentor and stuff like that. And I don't recommend going immediately to that person and introducing yourself and saying, hey, mentor me. Or, hey, can you mentor me? Don't do that. Don't do it.
It's awkward. It's weird. It's like going up to a girl and being like, will you marry me? I don't know you, but will you marry me?
Absolutely.
Did that work for you though?
Absolutely.
It took a few years.
Not a good idea. Not a good idea. So what you do though is you make sure that you get your education right, because you don't want to be asking them questions that you can easily learn on BiggerPockets or somewhere else. Yeah. Get as much education as you can. Start your marketing. Start getting calls. You get a good lead. You can call that person or talk to that person. You might want to introduce yourself to them at some point and make some small talk stuff. But you get that lead and then you contact them and just basically say, look, I got this hot lead. I think it's a good deal. Would you mind helping me analyze it? And maybe we can do this deal together, or I can wholesale it to you or something. Get your foot in the door. And the fact that you're out there going after it is going to tell them so many things about you, and they're going to want to work with you. So that's how you do it.
Yeah, I think that tip was fantastic. I mean, like, because so many people ask me, will you mentor me? Will you mentor me? But nobody's ever brought a deal and said, will you mentor me through this deal? That would make all the difference, right? Like, I mean, I would be happy to help somebody with a deal that they bring if they want to split the deal with me, right? I mean, like, come on, like, I don't have to do anything.
You're greedy.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, it would tell me that they're serious, that they've already started their marketing. Anyway, I think that's fantastic. So, all right, next fire round question.
Yes, our fire round is becoming not so fiery fire round. We gotta keep these snappy.
I'm sorry.
So
that's me.
No,
I just ramble on about this stuff.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's okay. We don't, we're not mad at you. Surely this next question is going to have like a 10-minute answer as well. But
No, I'll make it 5 words.
All right. Hi guys. Should I do it in the voice? No, I'm not. Hi guys. My name is Jennifer.
Hi Jennifer.
And I'm new to Oh, hi. How are you? Are we going to role play? Hi, guys. My name is Jennifer, and I'm new to wholesaling. I just sent out a batch of yellow letters and got my first phone call. Unfortunately, it was an angry caller. I guess he was upset because he received my letter. He left a voicemail because I didn't get to answer. How do you guys react to these calls?
Okay, see, I was born in 19... Just kidding.
Oh, was your boy. There was this tattoo.
This is going somewhere. Trust me. We just have to get through my when I was but anyway. Okay, so yeah, you're gonna get those calls when you do marketing. And you just have to ignore them. Yep. Take them off your mailing list and move on, because you will get calls from people that are like, "I need your help, and I'm so glad I found you." So. Yeah,
I love that.
So the ones who say, I'm going to call the cops if you keep mailing me, or, I'm going to come kick your butt, just move on. Ignore them.
Yeah, and that's always well, I don't know if it's funny, but I've had somebody call me before and, go through this long rant where they were going to kick my butt and all kinds of stuff. And at the end, I had to say, well, I need your address so I can take you off my list. And obviously they didn't want to do it at that. They've been saying all those things, so they just hung up. But the next time I mailed, I got a call. And I know it's the same guy, but it was like a different voice. And he's like, could you please take me off your list? Here's my address.
That's funny.
But anyway.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's just what it is. You ignore them. If you're getting critics and you're getting people angry, it means you're probably doing something right. I mean, generally speaking. So cool. All right. Third question. All right. I just sent out a collection of 550 direct mail letters and I got 0 phone calls. What am I doing wrong?
All right, so the first thing to look at is your list. So I guess did he say absentee owner?
He didn't say. Okay.
Yeah, so the first thing to look at is your list. Is it old? Is it not narrowed down to have any signs of why people might be motivated? So, a lot of people target absentee owner, and that could be something with competition, because if you're getting some list that's real easy to get, you might have a lot of other people mailing that list. So the first thing I would do is look at your list and drill it down. So if you look at your list and, if it's not very targeted, so you could, even if you said, I want absentee owner, but you just select it on a map somewhere, and maybe you're targeting areas where the property values are like way above median, the likelihood of someone with a house that value calling you is pretty slim.
Yeah.
So you sort of need to narrow down your criteria. And I don't know. If you want me to go into a little bit of criteria, I can, but we can.
It's up to you, Josh.
I think
it's fire round.
I think we're good at the quick and dirty. Check your list. Make sure you're sending to a solid list that not everyone and their mom is sending to. And then, if that list looks like it's okay, you may want to look at the content of what you're actually sending.
Right. Most of the time it's the list, though. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. All right, last question of the fire round. Somebody offered me a free property. What's the worst that could happen?
Well, is this real?
Yeah. Somebody put that in the forum.
that is a legitimate question.
Like, is it a slam dunk? No matter if there's a free property, is that slam dunk for sure? It's a good deal.
Wow, free property. Let's see. I've offered $1,000 for a house before. That's close to free. Yeah, I mean, I guess if there's not certain problems with the house that could end up getting you sued or something.
Yeah.
Or some like liens or something. I mean, if you do your due diligence to still make sure there's not some sort of lawsuits or. First of all, you have to ask, why is it free? Why are you giving it away for free? I mean, that's what I would find out. But, Probably if everything title's clear and everything's good, I don't know that you could really lose.
Well, but you said the key things, right? Check title, make sure there's no liens, make sure there's no lawsuits. If all that stuff kind of checks out and there's no problems with the property, then you're probably in a fairly decent position, right?
Sure, yeah.
I got a lead one time on a house that was I think they were asking like $10,000 for it or something like that. And I went and looked at it, and even if I paid full price for it, it would have cost me $10,000 to tear the thing down, and the property value itself was worth like nothing. I mean, it maybe even cost me like, let's say I offered them, even their full price. I could not have made money on it probably, maybe a couple grand, maybe after closing costs, but I don't even know. So anyway, interesting question anyway. So
well, I mean, there's other stuff, remediation, right? I mean,
you
get a property that's asbestos. I mean, there's a lot of
it gets into a lot of the why. Why is it free?
Yeah.
What's the issue?
And free doesn't always. I mean, at the end of the day, I think what we're all here saying is, don't necessarily just say yes because somebody's giving you a free property, because there's plenty of free properties up in Detroit that may not be worth having.
The property that I offered $1,000 on, the house actually was a house that had pier and beam foundation, so it had cedar post supporting it.
Yep.
Well, at some point in the past, the owner at some point decided he wanted a slab, right? A slab foundation. So what did he do? He went the easy route and just pumped concrete underneath the house. I'm not kidding.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
This thing was all cracked up with like 4-inch wide cracks, and it was crazy.
Wow.
Awesome. Don't do that either, people.
Yeah, don't do that.
Right.
All right. Moving on to the end of the show, which we call our Famous Four. All right, these questions come direct. No, they don't. These questions are asked of every guest every week. And I know you've been on the show before, so you answered these, but we'll ask them again. Maybe they've changed. Number 1, what is your favorite real estate book?
Favorite real estate book? I would say, I don't know. I'm for some reason, I'm just thinking Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's not really real estate, but just thinking in general of...
Yeah. A good choice is always the book in Investing with No and Low Money Down.
Oh, my book is always a good choice.
Sometimes I
absolutely.
Thanks, good.
Or Millionaire Real Estate Investor.
Okay, that's a good one too.
Go. All right, cool. What about business book? Any business books that you've read lately that have captivated you?
Yeah, The One Thing.
Yeah, I love that book.
Good book.
Yeah.
Good book. Nice. Cool. All right, hobbies. What have you been doing for fun lately?
Well, I wish I've had more time to fly. So I fly a little airplane, but a little 2-seat prop plane. I have a lot of fun in.
That's the little one that's on your arm. You kind of like,
It's exactly what he does, Josh. This guy's an idiot, Danny. I apologize.
That too. No, but so that, and then I've got 5 kids, so they, love my kids and my family. We spend a lot of time and have a lot of things to do with them. So we've got twins that turned 16 this year and got cars, and so that's interesting. But
wow,
yeah, good luck to you, buddy.
Yeah, awesome. All right, my final question of the day: what do you believe sets apart successful real estate investors from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
They go into it without thinking there's a chance they're going to fail. Right, so I'm going to make it happen. It's like what we talked about earlier. We're going to make it happen no matter what. No matter what happens, as things come our way and problems come up, I'm just going to find out how to get past them or change what I'm doing. But no matter what, I'm going to make this happen.
Perfect. Love it. All right. Where can people find out more about you?
They can find out more about me at flippingjunkie.com. That's my blog. So flippingjunkie.com. I've been blogging there for a long time. And then I've got a book on Amazon called Flipping Houses Exposed. And that's 34 weeks of my life as a real estate investor, all the leads that I got, and analysis of all those and all that kind of stuff. And then also just released the Flipping Junkie podcast. And it's awesome, I think. But
I was
the
on
first
it, so it must be.
person, I think, yeah. But the first person I interviewed was my father. And so anybody that's followed the blog for a while probably would be pretty interested in that conversation. And then the second interview, I actually had Brandon in the hot seat. So
whoop, whoop.
More about Brandon.
There you go.
Right on. Cool, man. Well, thank you for coming back on the show. We definitely appreciate it. I think there was a lot of pretty good information as always. So we definitely appreciate you being here, and course, we thank you for being part of the community of BiggerPockets, and look forward to seeing you around.
All right. Well, thanks for having me back. It shows that I didn't really mess it up too much on the first one. Maybe the BiggerPockets tattoo helped get me back on the show.
Nice.
It did.
Yeah.
That was your ticket.
Yeah, that's
All right,
it.
well, thank you, Danny.
All right, Danny. Thanks so
thank
much,
you.
man.
We'll see you around.
Have a good one.
All right, guys. Big thanks to Danny Johnson again for coming on the show. We definitely appreciate him coming out of his shell for today's show. A great interview. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. So, I guess, ratings, reviews, all that good stuff. You guys know the drill. And we'll see you around.
We'll see you around for sure. Thank you for being a part of BiggerPockets. Thanks for engaging. And today's one actionable thing I want you to do to help us out. I know we help you. I want you to help us. Share this thing. Share this podcast. Not just this show. Share any of the shows. Go on Facebook. Go on Twitter. Go on Pinterest. Whatever you use, one of your other social media that is not BiggerPockets, and share BiggerPockets. Let people know about the show and help get the word spread, because we help so many people, and there's so much to gain from these interviews, and we just want more and more people to be successful, and so please do that. So that's it. Otherwise, let's get out of here. I'm Josh Dorkin, signing off.
You're listening to BiggerPockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.